Anyway, let's roll. And let's bring in our first guest right now. You'll notice we see, before I bring in my first guest, the traditional venture capital. The traditional venture capital kind of goes with an old rule we used to call the 20-minute rule. And it's basically, you should always consider financial options, capital of any kind that is within 20 minutes of your office. And whereas we find venture capital is still remarkably local, that over distance, it decreases the opportunity that you have. And I think if any of our local Bakersfield businesses have ever contacted a venture capital firm, say in the Silicon Valley, they have found that to be quite true. The Small Business Development Center has worked with venture capital for quite a while. And what we'll find is that the average deal for venture capital firms is generally around the $4 million range. And so for $4 million, it's really looking at businesses that want to scale, want to get particularly large, and they always want to see where they're going to be paid off. So that's traditional venture capital. Let's talk about the Capital Connectors and their program. And let me bring in Jeffrey Thorne. Jeffrey is one of the Capital Connectors and is the founder and CEO of WorkLogic HR, which is a business founded here in Bakersfield in 2000. WorkLogic HR basically outsources a lot of human resource solutions from payroll to HR to benefits and workers' comp. Jeffrey, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. You know, touching base a little bit, you had mentioned about venture capital. We are an angel fund, and angel investors are a little bit different than venture capital. We are looking for smaller deals. We're not looking for $4 million deals. We're looking for either startups or companies that are looking to expand. It's actually the step before you go to venture capital. It's the step, you know, angel fund is typically you go, those are your aunts, your uncles, your friends, your best friend, or people like us that have put a group together that look at businesses and then decide if they want to invest. And there's different ways. There's equity financing and there's also debt financing. And so in equity means that Capital Connectors takes an equity position. The other options, and there's different, depends on the type of a deal that we're looking at, is called debt financing, which basically we are financing on a term note. There's four of us. All four of us are from Bakersfield. Have all been successful in our own businesses. We bring a unique blend of business owners with different perspectives. And how this all got started, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I started in 2000 with zero money. I couldn't call a friend to give me any money. I knew nobody. So I did find a buddy of mine, and they invested $20,000 into my business. And about 6 months later, I bought them out. But today, WorkLogic will do $110 million on that $20,000 investment from 15 years ago. So as I started developing to become a little bit more successful, I said, well, you know, can I give back to the community and help that I know if someone believed in me, and it was very hard to find that someone, but it was something that I started in 2000. And how can we help other people? So we created this Capital Connectors. Like I said, there are four people. They're all business owners and multiple business owners. Today, I own 11 businesses. My main business is WorkLogic HR, but I have either majority stake, sole ownership, or some ownership in 11 businesses. And so, you know, our mission has been really to give back to the community, help small businesses grow, give them an opportunity where a traditional bank will not give you that capital, and help them grow. And that's a little bit about Capital Connectors.
Well, great. And we see your mission on the screen now, and the mission of Capital Connectors, and it's a great project. We know and seen a lot of businesses that need capital and need that capital to either start or grow their business. That kind of moves us along to the types of ventures that you see Capital Connectors funding. And Jeffrey, what do you think are some of the businesses that you might see?
Well, great question. And I'll tell you, from our perspective, because we have a diverse background, I'll bet you between the four business owners, we all own upwards of 60 to 80 businesses. So we have a very broad spectrum of expertise. And we're not only looking to provide capital, but also resources. And that's why we call it capital connectors, because one of the things is when I started my business, I really had no connections to anybody. I didn't have the sphere of influence that I have today where I can call someone up and say, hey, I'm trying to get into X client. Can you help me out? Or I need X expertise. And so what we wanted to do is look for businesses that not only need capital, but also we can help them specifically grow through our own connections and help them build their connections to help them grow. So our typical investment is going to be under $100,000. It's going to be from a service industry to retail. We're really quite open. It just depends on, quite frankly, on the owner themselves. We invest in the owners as much as the idea. Without a good operator, I don't care what idea you have, it will not be successful without passion, drive, and motivation, and that comes directly from the business owner. So we are investing in an owner as much as a business.
So it looks like you're going to invest in everything from concept to startup to pre-venture to existing businesses that might be looking for additional capital to grow. If somebody's got an idea or an invention, everything's on the table.
Yeah, that's correct.
Great. So you got an idea. Here's our timeline, and you're going to see on that screen the actual website that you can go to. It's www.sendyourplan.com. And that's really your first step, and really one of the things that you'll need to do at the conclusion of this webinar to get the process going from your end. So remember that website, and we'll try to mention it a few times. At this time, what I want to do is I want to bring in Quinn Miller. And Quinn is the principal of QEM, which is an events management planning service. Quinn established the business in 2012 and has been involved in the process of bringing capital connectors to fruition. So Quinn, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me today. Yeah, like you said, similar to Jeff, I started in business about 3 years ago, and this was a project that was really dear to me because I was in a similar situation. When I started this business, I started it with just an idea and a drive, pretty much. I didn't have any connections, and really I had to go out and bump my head in order to get it to be where it's at today. But just speaking on the capital connectors, this is just a really great opportunity for you guys out there. Everyone that's listening, I want you to understand a couple of things. Number one, you're dealing with 4 people that are very tenured in the business atmosphere. But then also these individuals understand what it's like to be in your shoes. They've all paved their own way to get where they're at, to get to where they're at today. All right, so looking at the slide, you're going to see a couple of dates that you're going to need in order to be a part of this venture forum. Number one, you're going to see you're going to have to submit your business presentation by May 1st. Once that happens, we're going to have about 10 days or so to go through all of our business plans, our presentations that we've acquired, and the actual investors at this point are the capital connectors are going to select some semifinalists. And once they get to that point, we're going to do 2 things. They're going to vote on which ones they like the best, but then also we're going to open this up to the public as well to do some voting through social media and also some of our local networks in order to help select those finalists. And the great thing for you guys is that this will be an opportunity for you to not only start to market your project, but then also get some others involved in that as well. And then finally, as you'll see, the finalists will be announced on May 22nd, and you're going to actually be able to present on June 4th. So looking at how it works, this is something that's very, very important that you guys are going to have to understand. Once you go to sendyourplan.com, you're going to notice there's going to be an example presentation there. Everyone is going to have to use this exact format in order to present your plans. So it's just going to be a 10-page business presentation, and with that 10-page business presentation, we're going to go through it a little bit later on the different things that we're going to look for when you're presenting to the actual connectors. Now, once you get that done, I know a lot of you, and we've had this a lot lately, you have this idea or you have this business and you're trying to bridge the gap on where you are today and what it's going to take in order for you to be prepared in order to present to the presenters or present to the connectors. And that's where SBDC comes in. Once you go to seniorplan.com, there's a couple options that you can do. If you're ready, you can actually submit your plan by clicking the link. Or there's also at the on the site, there's a link that you can click that actually asks if you need help. And by doing that, you'll actually be able to insert your information, your name, email, contact information, and then you will be contacted by the SBDC to sit down and kind of go through your conceptual plan, but then also a little bit more in depth and actually help you build your business presentation. And finally, once we get ready, you'll actually present to a panel of consultants so that you will be properly prepared by the time the actual event happens on June 4th. So as I said before, there's going to be an example of a business presentation or a 10-page presentation that you can see. You can actually go through this, and it's going to be pretty simple. Basically, we're going to want to know what your idea is. What is it that you're going to bring to the table? What kind of value can you bring to number one, your consumer, your end user, but then also what kind of value can you bring to the community, and then also with that to the capital connectors that are going to be working with you and investing in you.
And each one of these is Jeff again, and each one of these power slides, you'll notice like here, we're talking about the market opportunity. That's what you must duplicate. Obviously, the data is yours. That's going to change, and how it lays out is going to change. What we're looking for is real simple. We want to know what the market opportunity is. What's the market size? Who's your target audience? Who does it represent? How are you going to enter into the market? Are you going to go through, in this case, strategic partners, direct to consumer, online, SEO campaigns, trade shows? How are you going to get into the market? Strategic partners. Do you have anybody that you're already dealing with that has already signed up with you that are current strategic partners or potential strategic partners? We want to know that. Any current customers that you currently already have. And your competitive advantage. If you look on this power slide, you have WorkLogic, which, by the way, WorkLogic is my company. What we did here is we looked at Paycom, ADP, Paychex, and Sure Payroll. These are our competitors. And then we did a little graph here that shows you what our product offers and what their product does not offer. The one thing you never want to do, don't ever slam your competition. Everybody has the right to compete. You just do it differently. What are the barriers to competition? Is it a management experience? Is it a capital experience? Is it a closed market? Is it something that is so unique that no one else can get into it because you have the proprietary information to do it? Those are the things that you want to enter into those. And then the team, who's involved? Like I said earlier, the team is what we're looking at. We are not interested as much as the product, as much as who are we investing in. And that product then that we're investing has to obviously make sense, but we want to make sure that we are partnering with someone that A, we can work with, B, that is willing to take advice and wants help from us, and C, has the ability to execute their plan. And then obviously we want to see your financial projections. This is we're not looking for a cash flow analysis, a debt analysis. We're not looking for a balance sheet and all those other things. We're just looking for a very simple financial projection and business model. If you look at here between 2002 to 2016, here's your net revenue, here's your number, your gross, here's your, and how that revenue is being generated from the different types of plans in this case. And then the investment opportunity and use of funds. How much capital are you raising? How much have you raised it to date? And you must have an evaluation. So don't come into, and this is for anytime you're looking for money. Don't come in and say, oh, I want, my business is worth X. And then you need to be able to explain why you believe your business is worth X. We have to have a starting point. We have to know what you're looking to what capital you're looking to raise, how much you've raised for yourself, and what your use of funds are going to be. And And then your ROI, which is your return on investment strategy. How am I going to make you or the investor going to make their money back? And that's either an exit strategy, be acquired, or it could just be income that's generated from the business, but that needs to be demonstrated. And this last page is just some of the different marketing pieces that we threw into the piece. So that's the PowerPoint presentation. And I just want to make sure everybody, if you're going to present to our group, and if you're not, and you want to present to any group, this is a pretty standard format that will get you through pretty much any presentation for financing from any equity financiers, angel investors, mezzanine financing, venture capital financing. They're all going to look for the same data. Now, what happens is once we decide, hey, we're ready to move forward with you, that's when we start getting into the real nitty gritty of a written business plan with strong financial projections, and that's where the SBDC comes in, and they'll help with that as well. Which, by the way, I want to thank you guys for putting this on. We really appreciate. We think that you guys partnering with us and partnering with the community, I think it's a win for everybody. So I appreciate that. So go ahead, Quinn.
All right, so to some of our FAQs, and pretty much what does it cost to register? And again, that's the benefit of this. This is free of charge to submit your business presentation to acquire funding. And then what kind of businesses are required to sign up with this? And then that, again, it goes back to what Jeff was saying. This could be any startups, whether you have an idea, whether you're a small business currently, whether you're looking to grow. We're actually looking for all of these ideas and all of these different businesses at this point. How much funding is available? Again, back to Jeff's point, this is going to vary depending on each case. Like he said, it's pretty standard for about 100K or so, but it's really going to depend on what your company is looking for. And then again, how viable is your project as well. And then
Well, also, Quinn, we'll take us a few other questions also at this time. So this will give us an opportunity to look and see. And if you have questions, please ask them. One of them says that SendYourPlan.com has a great template on which you expect for the business presentation. Without having an expansive business knowledge, how do you find the different information that you request?
You know what, I've started 10 businesses. And when I started my company 15 years ago, I knew nothing about the industry. And the industry is called a PEO, Professional Employee Organization. The best place and the easiest place, and I've done it 1,000 times, is go to the association's website. Associations have a great amount of information that will help you get the information you're looking for.
And the next question is, are you guys like business investors on Shark Tank?
Great question. No, not really. We are angel investors, so we are looking to take an equity position in a business to help them grow, much like Shark Tank. The difference is that we're not going to sit and have a discussion of what we're willing to invest, we're not willing to invest when you give a presentation. That's for television. That doesn't really happen in the real world. But if you want to use that as an example of what to expect, that's pretty much it. You're going to stand in front of 4 people. You're going to give a presentation. It's typically 10 minutes. Then about a 20-minute question and answer by the capital connectors. And then that's it. And we will, within 48 hours, notify you of some further questions, and then we will go from there. But you're not going to stand in front of there and be berated by some egotistical, wealthy billionaire that's going to tell you how good or how bad your idea is. It's not like that.
Moving on to our next question, Ramona asked, how do I get in touch with advisors? And I actually could answer that one, Ramona. Just go to the SBDC website at www.csub.edu/SBDC, and you can sign up for an advisor on our website. Also, if you go to SendYourPlan.com, the Capital Connectors website, there's a link that you can go and sign up there as well. A few more questions before we move on. People are asking if they can get a copy of the PowerPoint. Yes, we'll have a survey at the end. If you take the survey, then we can pick up from that your email and send out the handouts via email later. Am I protected when you don't invest and the idea has been taken away from you? Well, first of all, I would strongly encourage anybody that is talking to anybody about funding to have your intellectual property protected. That would be the one step that you would want first and foremost, and if you're talking to the capital connectors or anybody else for that matter. So I don't think that will happen, but let me ask the experts here, are they protected if you don't invest with them and anybody takes their idea away?
At the beginning of every presentation, we'll have a non-disclosure agreement. We're not interested in stealing people's ideas, so it's just not something that we do. But we'll have a non-disclosure agreement for everybody that presents.
And if it is intellectual property, please look at a way to protect that beforehand as well. Okay, moving along here. Is there a minimum amount to be considered? Would a $5,000 or $10,000 request be considered?
Absolutely. Listen, this is angel fund investing. Like Jay had mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, a venture capitalist, their typical deal is from $4 million on up. That is not us. We are for very small, the typical angel fund investor, and it's typically done on groups. So it's anywhere from, listen, if it's the right idea, $5,000 is fine. But if it is a great idea, it just depends on what the person is trying to accomplish and what their business plan represents. So, typical fund investment is maximum $300,000 typically, all the way down to whatever the needs of the presentation is.
Okay, and if you have any other questions, please ask and we'll get to them a little farther along. Okay, one last one and then we'll move on. It asks, Jeff, can you please expand on the best way to develop a team?
That's a great question. I've been very lucky. So I started when I started my business. I was the chief bottle washer. I was of course, we didn't do bottles, but I ran payroll. I was a safety person, the HR person. I was a salesperson. As you grow, you either do that through acquiring talent, or you have talent that is you built through within your organization. So now I have a management team of 7 people. I'm no longer the president of the company. I promoted Rick Goddard to be the president of the company. He's been with me for 8 years. And he was someone that came to me and he's always had that ability. Developing a team is a lot of work. It's a challenge. Most people, it's called the Peter Principle. And one of the things that I'm sure you guys have heard of this before, but promoting someone outside of their comfort zone, you have that great, fantastic employee that you think is the sliced bread of everything, and you decide to promote them into a manager position. All of a sudden he fails miserably or she fails miserably because people have a place where they are comfortable in their business. And so developing a management team, it takes years to do that. And it's also one of the things that most small businesses really struggle with is that employee that you hired from day one, and now you're 15 years, and the company has passed that person up, and they are no longer valuable to the organization. And in having the discipline to say it's time for that person to move on. And as small business owners, that's very hard to do a lot. We hang on, and I would encourage don't do that. It's not good for that person. It's not good for your organization. And so it's time to ask them to move on. Developing a team takes time. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's a trial and error, to be honest with you.
And I might just add, Alan, that you might look for a group of advisors that maybe are even outside as an advisory committee or something like that. and look for someone who you trust in the community. For example, John Pryor, famous Bakersfield businessman, risk management, is one of our consultants, has worked on several small businesses to help provide them guidance. So you can build a team actually of advisors that actually assist you if you don't have the point to ramp up to management level professionals at this time. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, let's move on a little bit here, and we've gone through the WorkLogic slide deck and the 10, 12 slides. So here's another one that was one of the crowdfunding sources that I just thought I would throw up there because they had some good messages to send to people that are getting ready to go through this process. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically tell your story in 10 slides. The connectors don't want 12 slides. They don't want 15. They want it in 10 slides. So you're going to do the best you can to concisely entice them in order for them to learn more information about your business opportunity. So how are we going to do that? Well, you're going to build a slide deck that's going to be consistent, concise, get the information out, tell your story, provide financial and marketing information, tell them how they're going to get paid, and get out in 10 slides. And that's going to be a concise 10 slides. So if you follow Guy Kawasaki's 10-20-30 rule, it's going to be 10 slides for PowerPoint, allow 20 minutes for the presentation, and then every slide should have 30-point font or greater. Now, I didn't exactly follow Guy Kawasaki's guideline on this particular slide deck that we're going through today, but you'll want to do it for this. After all, nobody's given me money to be here today, okay? These guys are going to invest in your particular business. You're going to want to follow it to the last detail. So you're not going to want to provide too many details. You're going to want to kind of keep it going to where you have the information, you have that information that you want to convey to them. So we were looking at a slide on common mistakes. Too many slides, too wordy, too much product detail. I think Jeffrey mentioned great that you don't belittle your competitors. There's a way that your competitors are going to compete more favorably than you are on particular items. As an investor, I would think that they would want to know that you see that and recognize it. So one of the great strengths is understanding your weaknesses. So, and belittling your competitors, they're overpriced, they don't provide good service, etc., is not probably a good strategy. So some of the other things that you're going to want to see perhaps in your 10 slides, you might even want to include your elevator pitch. It's something that we will definitely work on if you come to the SBDC. And if you work with one of your advisors, an elevator pitch is one of the things that we will work with almost initially.
Yeah, and Jay, is also, if you notice on that PowerPoint presentation, your first slide is your elevator pitch. You don't need a slide that says elevator pitch. When you stand up in front of the group, my name is Jeffrey Thorne with WorkLogic HR. We provide HR outsourcing to small employers throughout the state of California. That's our elevator pitch. It's part of your opening statement. It's not necessarily an actual slide.
So there you go, the first part, and you'll have your elevator pitch. And also market opportunity is extremely important to the investors. They want to see not only that you have a great opportunity to succeed, but they want to see you recognize it and move forward that way. So what you're going to talk about is things that Jeffrey covered earlier when he pulled the slide up on the WorkLogic. It's going to be your total market size and also your customers and understanding who your customers are. And one thing on customers at the SBDC, we like to talk to people that oftentimes businesses have customers on who they're more or less stuck with. It's not those that they actually go out and try to target or try to appeal to. And that's really something you should think about as well. If you have a broad enough market, there should be the opportunity to where you actually might even fire one of your customers. I'm sure we've all done that a time or two.
100%.
So
it's a nice place to be at. When you're starting out, you fake it till you make it. But as you develop an organization, sometimes you have to look at the cost of having that as that customer. You're 100% right.
And maybe the old 80-20 rule kicks in, 80-20 rule for everything, but this one being 80% of your revenues or your sales come from 20% of your customers. So if you invert that, then 20% of your sales are coming from 20%, 80% of your time commitment to those 20%. So knowing your customers and who the customers you really want are two things. So identifying a problem and then coming up with the solution. Jeffrey touched nicely on that. So your product or service, telling your story. Again, all things that really you need to work with. We talked a little bit about the financials. We have strong financial consultants who can work with you. When it comes to getting capital at the SBDC, if you're coming in for digital marketing assistance, for example, you need to learn how to do digital marketing in this era. If you're coming in for financial advice, you need to understand the financials, but you don't necessarily have to have the skill set to come in and do that initially. So we can actually help you there. The team came up nicely during the previous question that Alan asked earlier. So some of the team roles, and it seems like a lot of our small businesses, when they're growing, is they have a tendency to hire people who actually have a skill set that they don't have. So they're adding a different skill level, or they're doing tasks that the owner or manager doesn't want to do. You ever see that, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't know, it's kind of a thing that pops up here at the SBDC. And we talked a little bit about your competition, your investment. So there we go. So one of the processes you're going to want to do, and there's information on signing up for SBDC services. You can go to the website. Our consultants will work with you on putting together your slides, work with you on your pitch.
Now that we've talked a little bit about what's in the, how SBDC can help, where to go to submit, what we expect inside the actual presentation, I like to spend about 5 minutes discussing how to present. You must know your numbers. As investors, we want to know the person that we're talking to knows their numbers, knows their market, knows what they're selling, and not reading from a power slide. The last thing we want to see is your back talking to the PowerPoint presentation. Now you're standing up in front of a PowerPoint presentation. Sure, you're going to be looking at it to know where you're at, but you should know, and you should practice with your family. Know what you're going to be talking about, and you need to time it. Make sure you use a timer because you're going to have a very limited amount of time. So it's important that you practice it, that you are not standing up in front of the group and your back is to us. You're reading your PowerPoint presentation. You need to know the numbers. You need to know your PowerPoints. We're not saying memorize. That's not what I'm saying. But you got to remember is what I said very early on in this webinar is that we are investing in a person. And the way you come across, I think one of those little slides that you had up there from the crowdfunder says about arrogance and something about that. It's a very good point. We want someone that's confident, but we're not looking at someone that says to me, I know everything and I have it down and I don't need anybody's help, because we're here to help. And if we won't invest in someone that says, I don't want your help, I just want your money. We're not going to give anybody our money unless we're here to help, because we want to see it be successful. And we know by partnering with these group of business owners, we can help that business owner get there. So it's real important is spend some time putting it together, get with the SBDC. They'll help you refine it. You'll also do a practice with them, but practice before you even come to them, to your family members, your wife, your aunt, your uncle, your kids, whoever you want to. So that way you got a good feel for the PowerPoint presentation. Does that make sense?
Total sense. And I think the part that can't be underscored is the fact that the 4 capital connectors are in this not only to do some good to the community, but to offer their advice and their expertise. I mean, we've talked about the 4 of them that have either started or managed over 100 businesses. every business issue that is likely going to come up in your particular business as you grow and expand. They've already seen it. They've already witnessed it. So having that mentorship relationship and that advisor moving forward, in addition to having the money, is valuable and cannot be underscored.
And the connections. You got to remember is we have 4 business owners that have so many deep connections. Typically what we're looking for is someone that we can invest in, that we can use our connections to help them grow. It's a win for both.
So on the last of these few pitch tips, Jeffrey covered a lot of them. But one of the questions that seems to come up is your business going to scale? Or how is your business going to scale? Which is basically, how is your business going to ramp up? When we look at scalable businesses that investors traditionally like to, and other programs like to invest in, you're looking at those that were in the early stage of something, say, like a Facebook, where it's going to scale and have millions and millions of users. The nice thing about angel capital, or at least with this program, is they're looking at every business. It doesn't have to necessarily scale. So we talked a little bit about showing the passion and the energy that you're going to have. A few other things, a few other tips coming up. It's also helpful, I would believe, to have a short demonstration or actual product. Is there going to be a chance for that, or would that be after the pitch?
Yeah, probably not going to have time for an actual demo. But listen, if you have a widget that you've manufactured, bring it with you that you're looking to have invested. I mean, it becomes a tangible product for the investors to hold, feel, and look at. If you have software like I have, we're not going to allow you to demo it. There's just not time. Now, believe me, when we get into the due diligence, when we both all come to agreement that we're willing, you want some money and we're willing to invest, that will be part of the due diligence. But there just won't be any time.
Okay. I understand those numbers. One thing that we see at the SBDC when clients come in with financial projections, and I think a lot of our lender partners see this as well that we work with, is that we see overly optimistic financial statements. And so really what we'll do is we'll work with you before you get to the level, get to the connectors, and actually work through a lot of the assumptions that go into those numbers to make those numbers believable. There's a technique I like to use called persuasive budgeting, a future webinar likely. And what that does is it really begins with the credibility behind the numbers and things like that. So understanding and knowing the number is vitally important. And if you have questions, feel free to pop them up. So here, let's go to a question right here. Okay, so this is on protecting the business idea. Can you expand on that? Do you have much intellectual property in your 80 businesses, Jeffrey? Or?
Oh, we have a lot. I mean, I have a piece of software that I've spent over $3 million on developing. So, intellectual property, listen, if you have a patentable item or it is patent that's already protected, if it is a service industry, it's very hard to patent service industry. You can patent a process, but when you're talking about protecting your intellectual property, listen, I'm not an intellectual property attorney. I would suggest you go see one if that's something that you're that concerned about. Is the ultimate, you got to remember, we all have a lot of businesses. We're not interested in having someone present to us and then we steal their idea and go do it, because then we have no one to go do it for us. We are looking to invest in people and their ideas. And for some level of security, we will have a non-disclosure agreement that we will not disclose the information that you are presenting to our group outside of our group.
And one other thing along that I might add is that at the SBDC, we do have an intellectual property specialist, a gentleman who has about 6 companies and is an inventor and has gone through the process. He will not provide you the legal advice, but what he'll do is he'll get all the steps taken care of that get you ready to go see a patent attorney. So you'll have all the steps ironed off. So maybe you don't spend quite as much at the patent attorney. And maybe also you look into the commercialization of that idea and that patent to see if there is money that can be made from it. So there's a couple of things that we can offer you. Okay, so the next question from Nicholas is there time to share? Can we hear an example of a business the Capital Connectors have invested in or are planning to?
That's a great question. I have invested in, like I told you, I own 11 businesses. I know, I'll tell you who our investors are: Stan Ellis, Brad Peters, Mojibi, and myself. Each one of us, this is a brand new project for us. So as a group, we haven't invested in anybody. As individuals, we have invested in many. And I don't know, nor would I feel probably comfortable discussing what my partners have invested in. But Stan Ellis, one of his investments, which is public information, is the Bakersfield Jam. He owns the Bakersfield Jam. So we've all have our own deals. This is an opportunity for us to come together and start to invest and help businesses.
Next question comes from Jesse. My concern is around confidentiality. Parts of the process will be made available to the public. Let me start with that, and then I'll turn it over to Jeffrey. If you come to the SBDC, it will be confidential. We have each of our consultants have confidential agreements that they sign every year with us. They also sign a conflict of interest statement. So our consultants go through all that process. I think from my standpoint, what becomes available and part of the public would be what you do during your pitch. So anything that we would put out from the SBDC would have your approval ahead of time and would require a release of any information about your business. So, and we do that occasionally for promotional purposes, but I would think that you don't need to worry about confidentiality.
I agree. I think, as an example, someone mentioned to me a little while ago about Shark Tank. These guys are pitching 5, 6, 7 businesses a day on their show that is not held confidentially. It's made to the public. If you have a product or service that you are that concerned about, it's probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and we're not going to be the business for you to invest anyways, because it is going to be pretty special. I think most businesses that are going to come in front of us are typical businesses with an idea, a product that they're already in market to or want to get market to, and they probably have not split an atom to get it done.
Okay, well, that's the last of the questions we have right now. I have in here also today Jay Thompson, who is a SBDC advisor, has been with the SBDC a number of years. And Jay has been involved in the process of working with the Capital Connectors and Quinn to get this to where the SBDC can provide the assistance. So, Jay, what are some of your thoughts on this?
Well, it's great to be here with you all today. I just had a few points I wanted to go over. And one of the things with funding we always go back to, we call the 4 F's of funding. And Jeffrey had mentioned that earlier. But the 4 F's of funding are: 1, founders, that's you. I think you want to be able to demonstrate to people that you're willing to have your own skin in the game, put your own money invested into this thing. Next is your family. Is your family willing to put some money behind you also, or do they believe in your efforts? Next would be your friends. So if you have yourself investing, your family investing, and your friends investing, well, who'd be left on the F's? And that would be fools. So those are the 4 F's. But that aside, number one that I would want you to keep in mind is know your industry, right? Don't come in there and if there's a question asked of you, you're not able to answer it. You want to really know your industry. And by knowing the industry, you want to know your numbers. What are your numbers and how do they relate to that industry, right? Is the industry increasing? Is it declining? If you're in a declining industry, that doesn't mean it's bad to go into business, but you're gonna want to be able to articulate how you're going to take advantage of that decrease and do something different to turn that around so that you're still profitable. Know your market. Entrepreneurs always want to say, well, the world is my market. Everybody's going to buy from me. Well, that's not true. You want to know who your target individual is and be able to identify them so that when you see them, you know them. What is your niche in this industry? So how do you separate yourself from the rest of the people? And when you can define your niche, that will give you another advantage to be profitable in your business. Another point I would like to make too is know who you're pitching to. Now you have the names here; they've all been given you today. I would do a little research on these guys and know what their wants, desires, and likes are, and kind of flavor your pitch towards that. And most of all, be specific. Whatever you're talking about, be specific on. Don't say I think or I might want to be or whatever. Don't have a plan B. It's plan A. Plan B is for losers. Plan A or die. That's where you want to be on this thing. And we talk about all this stuff about being smart. Again, the acronym SMART is specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, relevant to what you're trying to achieve, and then time bound. Now, one of the things you want to keep in mind too, for investors that are coming to look at your business, somebody that has money to invest, well, there's a variety of things that they can invest in. And there's always that risk reward rate of return that they're looking at. A startup business is going to be more risky than somebody who just puts money in the bank in a CD. So they would expect a greater rate of return. So if I was putting my numbers together, I would want to be able to demonstrate that they're going to get probably 20 to 25% return on that money. And anything less than that, I would encourage somebody not to invest in the program. And another thing you want to have also in mind all the time is, yeah, you want to get in now, but how do you get out of this? And having an exit strategy from the beginning is probably key to the success of a lot of businesses, because how do you know you're there if you don't have a plan or a map to get there? And the other thing is, if you have an end in mind, then you can de-engineer that plan, and now you know what you need to achieve on a timely basis, on a month, a year, whatever, to get to that point through those intervals. So again, I would encourage you to go online, get registered. We're here to help you. You're going to be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And I think what's really great and exciting about this is you could not pay for the mentorship that you're going to receive if you were selected for this. This is a big deal. Mentorship from people who've made it before you. That's the best part of this whole program.
Okay, great, Jay. Thanks for those comments. Great ideas. We did get a couple more questions that came in, so let's get those answered. Remember to fill out the survey at the completion. And for those that want copies of the handouts, we will get those to you in a couple days. So just go into the survey and send me some handouts and you'll get them. So, and plus we do value your input. So go to the survey at the end of the webinar. Here's a question from Nicholas. Do you suggest the entire team be present for the presentation or a single pitch man?
We want a single pitch man, the principal, the person that's going to run the operation, the idea person. It's you can always have them come, they can sit and watch, but one person is the presenter. And guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, have fun with this. And I think if I was you, at the end of this process, you're going to have a 10-page PowerPoint presentation that you can use with anybody. You'll know more about your business than you've ever known. You have resources within the SBDC to help you get there. So, I know that sometimes, and I hope I did not come across that this is going to be a nerve-wracking presentation, because it's not. We are good people that are looking to invest in good people.
Okay, and we have a couple more questions as we wrap things up here today. The question is this just the 10-part pitch plan? Is anything going to be videotaped? Is anything going to be available via social media? And the concern from the questionnaire is not the investors, but has the possibility of damaging other businesses that he had if adversaries or competitors found out. And I think this kind of goes back to the to the confidential agreement with the SBDC and also the capital connectors who are going to have their own confidentiality statement that will be signed. So anything that goes out, I believe, is going to be, with the exception of perhaps if you're awarded. If there's an award, would there be, I'm sure there would be a press release of some kind.
Yes. Listen, every business gets started by someone that worked for someone else, unless you're the lucky 14-year-old that never had a job and created an app on your phone. Listen, I worked for a business. I left that business and started my own business. Quinn, I'm assuming you did the same thing. And when you start a business, that's just the expectation is that that's going to happen with business. The thing you got to be very careful of, and in the state of California, a non-compete is almost unenforceable. That means that if you are working for an employer and you leave and go start a new business, the non-compete is unenforceable. They cannot prevent you. What they can prevent you from doing is stealing proprietary information to go do it. But it's unenforceable. California likes people to start business, likes people to be able to move to another position without being sued by their employer. So I would not be concerned about that. If you have a product or service and you want to go out in business for yourself, then you should do it and not worry about your employer who you're working for.
Wow, that really ties in with what my next question was going to be, was the idea expands or enhances upon another project that I've been working with at a previous employer. Will there be an issue? And you might be getting more into a legal issue that probably Jeffrey and I don't really want to tackle today, but there are obviously employer-employee relationships when it comes to intellectual property. So I think that would be very difficult to give a generic answer to today.
No, you're right. But I will tell you is if we decided to invest in something, we have, this is also one of the great things, is we have attorneys, we have bankers, we have CPAs. They're also partnering with us. You'll see them on our website and providing free advice and free help, free consultation. So this would be something that I would probably defer to my attorney. Excuse me.
Okay, and then the last couple questions quickly as we wrap things up. What type of time frame are we working with sharing our presentations? And I think, is that the actual pitch? Remember, you go through the process to where there'll be a number that are submitted, and then the semifinalist will be able to then pitch to the committee. So you're probably, are they going to be about 20 minutes each, the pitches?
Yes.
So you're looking at, I think it goes back to our 10, 20, 30.
Yeah, that's
10 slides, 20 minutes.
Yeah, so you're looking at somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes for your slide, after which you're going to have, obviously they're going to have some questions. So you're going to want to save about 10 to 15 minutes as well for your questions that you have or that the investors have about your business.
And one of the things that we will do, so depending on how many people we decide that we want to have give us a pitch, Quinn, this is where Quinn will come in and help, is all the 4 investors will take notes. We'll sit down with Quinn afterwards, and then Quinn will kind of prepare a report and give you some free feedback from the investors. Why A, we're interested, why B, we're not, what do you need to work on, what do we see in the marketplace. So at the end of this, you're going to have some valuable feedback that is given to you that you can take and learn from.
Okay, last question, and I might add, at 101, this is our first webinar out of 40 that we've ran over on, and it's because of all the questions. Oh. So where will the pitch be held? A nice one.
Oh. The pitch is actually, we have a training center, and we call it the Inspiration Lab. It is located on Coffee Road in my corporate office. It is the only training center that has a full wine bar and a full bar attached to it. So it's a pretty special facility. It will be a very nice facility for you to come to and to be able to present to the capital connectors.
And if the pitch doesn't go that well, the bar is awful close.
It's awfully close.
Okay, well, that's all the time that we have for today. Again, go to the website, sendyourplan.com. That's sendyourplan.com. A lot of the information we shared today is there. If you have any questions, contact the SBDC. We'll help you as well. Let's get those plans going, get the presentations ready, and let's get some money invested in our local community.
Yeah, we look forward to it.
Okay, well, thanks. And for Jeffrey Thorne and Quinn Miller, Jay Thompson, I'm Kelly Bearden, signing off. Remember, if you want the handout to sign those surveys, we'll be back on the air on April 1st with Solarize Kern County and alternative energy for small businesses. Have a great day. Goodbye now.